Hello YouTube, Bane666 here. Welcome to Propaganda of Toxic Feminism, the series in which I expose and debunk falsehoods, misconceptions and outright lies spread about the men's rights movement. So let's get stuck into it. Hello YouTube, Bane666 here. So I'm going to start this episode by telling you about a movie I recently saw. The movie is called Spotlight, and the movie is about the Boston Globe's Spotlight team of journalists who back in 2001 and 2002 wrote a series of articles about the systematic child sex abuse by Catholic priests in the Boston area. They started out by investigating a handful of claims and eventually uncovered something like 87 cases of the church covering up child sex abuse cases. That is 87 priests who were moved around. You can assume that each one molested numerous children. So this movie is based on real life events that happened back then. And although I think we should take any movie which claims to be based on real life events with a grain of salt, the reasons why I bring up this movie are relevant regardless whether it's accurate or not. You see, this movie portrays journalists as people with integrity who are mainly interested in discovering the truth. They do the hard work. They find victims and witnesses to investigate and interview. They scour through court documents. They spend a great deal of time and effort turning over numerous rocks and finding every single piece of information they can possibly find. They put in all the hard work with very little thanks, because their ideal is uncovering the truth, whatever that truth may be. This is the ideal of what journalism should be, and in many cases in the past has been. Unfortunately, that's not really the case anymore. What journalism has devolved into in the last 10 or 15 years are people with a lot of education but little intelligence, who write clickbait, hit pieces and puff pieces while sitting on the toilet taking a shit. They cite other articles which are just as vacuous, or even fucking blog entries from the internet, because we know that, you know, an opinion piece on a blog entry is always going to be factual, right? And at no time do they ever bother checking any of the claims that they make. They start with their predetermined conclusions, and then they manipulate evidence to fit that. And I use the term evidence very, very loosely here. Citing something from We Hunted the Mammoth, I wouldn't really consider evidence. But at no point is any of this checked by these so-called journalists, people who get paid to actually do this for a living. And they just repeat the same mistakes that other people have already made, often adding to the mistakes and exaggerating claims, or just outright misinterpreting claims, or even going as far as to make things up and outright lie. Unfortunately, this is what happens when journalism is based on an ideological point of view, on a political dogma, as opposed to the ideology of actually uncovering the truth, whatever that truth may be, even if that truth is uncomfortable and goes against what you assume to be reality. And in the last week we've seen a perfect example of this type of shonky journalism. Well, you know, technically we see it every week, but this particular episode is going to focus on, once again, the mainstream online media losing its shit over something which is nothing. And for those of you who have been watching this series or many of my other videos, you probably know by now that one of the main arguments which is used against the men's rights movement is the false association argument. where they take someone who isn't an MRA and then claim that this person is an MRA who represents the entire movement. The lengths they can go to when doing this can actually be quite amusing. But most of the time it just is fucking frustrating. And of course they've done it once again this week, with the claims that Roosh V is a men's rights activist. Now, before going through numerous articles which are making this false claim, I thought it would just be appropriate to point out to any journalist or any future journalist who may be watching how easy it is to do 30 seconds of research. What you do is you go to this thing on the internet which is known as Google. You type in Return of Kings, then you click on the link to go to the web page. I hope this isn't too difficult so far. I personally don't find it difficult, but apparently a lot of journalists do, so I don't know. Then you click on the search function and you type in men's rights, and you get a number of articles which clearly indicate that Return of Kings and Roosh V are not men's rights activists. Now, until recently, it clearly stated this in the About section of Return of Kings, which seems to have been recently updated for some reason. But just in case you're not convinced, let's hear it from the man himself, Roosh V.
According to the media, I run the biggest men's rights site on the internet. So Return of Kings, for the past year, they keep saying that Return of Kings is a men's rights site. I've come out to say it's not. And look, I have criticized men's rights. I've said don't practice it, but they're still doing it.
So let's have a look at a couple of these media stories that have appeared this week and tear them apart bit by bit.
A controversial men's rights activist.
Literally the first 2 seconds of the story and already they've got something wrong. But let's continue.
Who was planning a worldwide meetup for men, including right here in La Crosse, has now canceled those events.
Well, according to the website Return of Kings, run by a popular pro-rape blogger.
A popular pro-rape blogger. Alright, I guess we should deal with this claim before moving on, because it's going to come up again and again and again. So let's hear it from Roosh himself.
I recently published a proposal called How to Stop Rape, and that suggests that if we legalize rape, women will be more careful with their bodies and not go into the private rooms of men that they don't want to have sex with. If you missed this article, then click below in the comments where you can read it in full. You would think that any idea or proposal that would decrease the amount of harm to women and decrease the number of rape would be welcomed by everyone. I mean, who doesn't want to decrease rape? Well, apparently everyone, because the rage that I got from the article was intense.
But am I saying that a man should rape a girl? No, you can read the books I've written, and I've said that no means no. But if a woman changes her mind and wants to have sex with you, that is fine. But you can't force yourself on a woman.
My policy to reduce rape is a thought experiment which shows that rape culture is not about keeping women safe. The response shows that this rape hysteria and all the new laws, such as yes means yes law in California, such as the kangaroo courts we're seeing in universities, is really a system to persecute the most amount of men possible.
And, I have a mom and a sister too, and to think that I would want to change the law to where they can get raped in someone's house and us have no legal recourse to deal with that is so absurd that I was actually offended that I had to state this is a thought experiment, you retards. I mean, it's just such a common thing, but when you hate someone, you take their jokes, their sarcasm in the literal sense in an attempt to build a case against them. right? And then I have to come out and say, yeah, guys, that really was a thought experiment, when it should have been obvious to anyone with a brain, I think.
The goal of this is to keep men in a pre-crime state where any man can be plucked out of his normal life and be charged with rape for a rape that did not actually happen. He can go to jail, he can lose his job, he can be kicked out of school, he can be shamed on the internet so he can't find future employment. Rape culture hysteria is not about keeping women safe. It's not about decreasing the amount of rape, real or fake, that a woman faces. It's about persecuting the largest number of men.
Now, I would have to agree with Roosh about rape culture hysteria. It's something I've done videos on before. Unfortunately, Roosh's article is like trying to put out a fire by pouring on petrol. It didn't help. In fact, I think it's increased rape culture hysteria, as you'll see throughout this video. Now, Roosh claims that the article he wrote was satire or a thought experiment. Personally, I think it was clickbait.
My reputation on the internet, as you may have seen, is not good. I've been called a rapist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, basically everything. So I'm working from the bottom of the bottom. And from there, any exposure that you give me, it now helps. Calling me a rapist now, it does not hurt me anymore. It actually increases the amount of people who visit me, who read my books and articles. So if you understand that, if you get out of it that, they're going to say some things that are not true, but it's not going to actually hurt you. It's almost like anything they say actually helps.
But you know what? It doesn't really matter if it was a thought experiment or satire or clickbait. Because if you actually read the article, there's no way you can actually think that Roosh is advocating for the legalization of rape. And anyone who claims that he is either hasn't read the article or has read the article and is a dishonest cunt. It's basically that simple. Now, I'm in no way advocating for Roosh or this article. I think this article is a fucking pain in the ass, to be honest. And like I said, I think it's pouring petrol on the fire and creating more issues than solving anything, as you will see throughout this video. It's basically just giving ammunition to our opposition. Yeah, sure, it might promote Roosh and his site, but it really doesn't help us in any way, because we're constantly falsely associated with him and his clickbait or thought experiment or whatever the fuck it was. Now, having said that, even though I dislike Roosh and even though I dislike the article, I'm more interested in truth than my feelings, and that's why I'm in the unfortunate position of actually sticking up for Roosh throughout this video. I really don't want to stick up for Roosh and defend him, but the claims made by our opposition are so fucking outrageous and so fucking crazy that I have no choice but to do so, because, like I said, I'm more interested in the truth and accuracy than I am in than my own feelings or ideology or anything like that. But I'll tell you what, let's continue and go back to the news article that we were looking at.
The event was set for this Saturday at Riverside Park in La Crosse.
The meeting was supposed to take place at 8 o'clock at the fountain in the park, while the organizer of the event is an advocate for legalizing rape on private property. According to the website, the meetings were to, quote, allow masculine men to regularly bond and converse with each other. It's caused quite an outcry on social media and even had La Crosse police looking into it because of the amount of concerned people who called.
The organizer of the Meetups posted on his website earlier tonight saying, quote, I can no longer guarantee the safety or privacy of the men who want to attend on February 6th, especially since most of the Meetups cannot be made private in time.
So basically, Roosh was promoting a meetup for readers of Return of Kings all around the world. I think it was something like 168 cities in 40-something countries or something like that. And it was supposed to happen Saturday the 6th. Now, personally, I don't think it was ever actually going to take place. I think Roosh, being the master manipulator of the media that he is, was doing this just to get the media attention that they all gave him. You got to admire the man for playing him like fools. And of course, they bought right into it and have given him an absolute ton of free publicity. But the interesting thing is, it was just meant to be a meet-up of people who are fans of Roosh and readers of Return of Kings. So, for example, I think there was meant to be one in Melbourne, so the Melbourne fans of Return of Kings would meet up and get to know each other. But, of course, the media, being what it is, has now promoted this as a pro-rape event. Yes, you heard that right. A pro-rape event. So individuals meeting up to get to know each other has now been promoted as a pro-rape event.
While I can't stop men who want to continue meeting in private groups, there will be no official Return of Kings meetups. He went on to say, I apologize to all the supporters who are let down by my decision, end quote.
And let's have a quick look at another news story.
Right now at 10, a so-called men's rights group.
And the first 2 seconds, and already an inaccuracy. You'll note they use the term so-called men's rights group. Return of Kings is a so-called men's rights group only in the minds of feminists and dishonest hack journalists. That's it.
The plug on a meetup at a Kenosha County bar. The Return of Kings group was asking followers to meet up this weekend at dozens of locations around the world, including the Brat Stop.
While it's unclear if anybody would actually show up, that blog gained a lot of attention on social media today.
Corinne Zell live at the Brat Stop, and Corinne, the manager there, wants nothing to do with this group.
No, Stephen Carroll, these meetings are intended to be secret. The blogger got so much attention today from his plan, the event was canceled. Now, that's a relief to the owner of the Brat Stop, who is sending a message of his own. The sign looks different at this recognizable Kenosha establishment.
It says, hate mongers not welcome.
The general manager put up the message after learning the Brat Stop was listed on a controversial men's rights blog.
A controversial men's rights blog, which clearly states that they're not part of the men's rights movement. Okay, so this next clip is titled Meet Roosh V, the men's rights activist who advocates legal rape. Now, they say in the title that he's a men's rights activist, but listen to how they actually describe him in the clip.
Meet Roosh V. He's a neo-masculinist blogger and pickup artist who fat shames women.
Fat girls are simply...
So, in the title of the video, they refer to him as a men's rights activist, yet in the first few seconds of the clip, they refer to him as a pickup artist. Yeah. And then later on in the exact same clip, this is what they say.
He runs a meninist group called Return of Kings, and if that weren't already awful enough, he hosts hetero tribal meetings to show men all over the world how to pick up women.
A meninist site. I'm sorry, but if you don't know the difference between pickup artists, men's rights activists, and meninists, then you should not be commenting on any of them. It's that fucking simple. Okay? I think this is another example of anyone who doesn't belong to my brand of feminism obviously is one of those evil men's rights activists. And I love how they throw in the, swapping tips on how to pick up women or whatever as some kind of obviously evil thing to do. Clearly, if you're trying to pick up women, you must be an evil misogynist rapist. But things actually get worse than this. because the Young Turks have got involved as well. And the title of their wonderful little clickbait video is called Pro-Rape Men's Rights Group Council Rally Because They're Scared. Now, once again, note that they used the name Men's Rights Group. And they also have a picture as the video's thumbnail of actual men's rights activists. It's Paul Elam and Nick Redding, who have nothing to do with Roosh V or Return of Kings. So here we have straight out fucking dishonesty here. But let's actually get into the clip, because there's some very interesting stuff in it.
Men's rights activists were planning on a number of get-togethers, not only throughout the country, but throughout the world in various countries. And they have been stopped by a lot of critics and counter-protesters. Now, this all started when a men's rights blogger...
So Return of Kings, for the past year, they keep saying that Return of Kings is a men's rights site. I've come out to say it's not. And look, I have criticized men's rights. I've said don't practice it, but they're still doing it.
Who, I don't even like saying his name because I know that he likes the attention, so I'm just going to avoid saying his name.
Which coincidentally also makes it harder for people to fact check, doesn't it?
A men's rights blogger basically said that he wanted, all the men's rights activists throughout the world to kind of get together in these meetups.
Now, this is an outright lie, because the meetups had nothing to do with the men's rights movement, and Roosh never claimed that it had anything to do with the men's rights movement. Not a single fucking thing. Yet here Anna is claiming that all the men's rights activists throughout the world were planning on a massive meetup. Absolute fucking bullshit.
And there was no specific note as to what they talk about. I know the media has been covering this as, pro-rape get-togethers.
Yeah, which I think is inaccurate.
It is inaccurate. So I want to be fair in reporting
Well, I would say even describing him generally as an MRA, I think he is an MRA, but I think he's more of a pickup seduction guy who happens to agree with MRAs. Like, his website isn't men's rights. It's how to get laid.
Yet, strangely, the title of the Young Turks video is Pro-Rape Men's Rights Group Cancel Rally Because They're Scared. Now, if you know Young Turks, if you know that Roosh V isn't a men's rights activist and his website is about pickup artistry, then why the fuck would you call the video Pro-Rape Men's Rights Group? And why would you use a thumbnail with actual men's rights activists in it who have nothing to do with Roosh V or his website Return of Kings or anything to do with the meetup? Why wouldn't you refer to him as a pickup artist in the title of your video, and why wouldn't you use a picture of him for the thumbnail? Unless, of course, you're just using this as propaganda.
How to get laid, and there have been a number of pro-rape posts, which is why the media has taken these meetups and they've kind of spun it to make it seem like these guys are going to get together and, like, endorse rape.
Yeah.
In other words, the media's just come out and totally lied. Now, look, once again, I don't want to be in a position where I stick up for Roosh or the legalised rape article he wrote, but I find that I have no choice but to do exactly that, because what I'm interested in is the actual truth. And the simple facts are the media is full of shit.
Which probably isn't what they would do. But
there's no evidence to say that they would do that, right? But the posts on these websites are disgusting, and these are deplorable people, so I don't want to shy away from saying that as well. Now, just to give you an example of what the head of this men's rights or pickup website has said in the past.
So the Young Turks here do something which is kind of clever. What they do is they start off by saying that Roosh is a men's rights activist, and then they kind of correct themselves and say, oh, well, you know, he's actually really a pickup artist. And then for the rest of the segment, what they do is they refer to him as a men's rights / pickup artist. thus combining the two things together. Now, the reason why they corrected themselves is because of all the fucking comments they get in videos every single time they do this bullshit. Every time they refer to a pickup artist as a men's rights activist, they get hundreds of comments calling them out on it. So now, you know, they can say, oh, well, you know, we kind of said that he's a pickup artist, blah, blah, blah. But it's this half-assed, wishy-washy kind of admitting that, you know, he's not really an MRA, yet they still refer to him as an MRA throughout the whole thing. And they know that people on their side of the fence will only hear MRA. Okay, that's all they're going to hear is men's rights activist. That's it. So it's a half-assed attempt to stop all the comments in the comment section, calling them out for fucking lying, basically. I'm sorry, guys, but you can't have it both ways. You know, this is just dishonest fucking bullshit right here.
He says that society is a dominating neo-matriarchy where men dare not lift their heads.
Whenever I see neo put before something, I just assume the person is right and I join their group. Because it sounds really smart.
He believes that
It's new.
He believes that rape should be legal, and in 2014, during an interview with the Daily Dot, he said there's a lot of cases where a woman uses rape to resolve guilt that she was too easy, stated that men and women are absolutely not equal, and called homosexuality a deviant lifestyle.
Yeah, I guess it's possible Roosh may have said some of these things. The bit about men and women not being equal, and that kind of sounds like something Roosh would say. I'm sure I've heard him say that before. The homosexual bit may possibly be true. I know he doesn't want homosexuals on his Return of Kings site, so that's quite possibly true. As for he believes that rape should be legal, that's an outright lie. That's basically misquoting the article which I discussed earlier, which is why I fucking hate that article, because it's just something which can be misquoted constantly, and unfortunately it's constantly attributed to us, even though the men's rights movement had nothing to do with it. But then again, what do you expect from the Daily Dot?
He also said women are now being encouraged to look like fat outer space cyborgs. Women and gays are seen as superior to straight men.
Now you'll note here it's got men's rights blogger. Once again, this is incorrect.
Now,
I had missed the fat outer space cyborg trend. Is that on Instagram?
Yeah, I didn't know that that women are being encouraged to look like that. It's always funny to me when someone as unattractive as this guy, and I know we're not sharing a picture of him because, again, I don't want to give him that attention. When someone who looks like him thinks that he can criticize the way other people look, you're not an attractive person.
I think it's sort of more natural that after you've been made to believe that you're not desirable, once you sort of develop these techniques to psychologically manipulate people, then you have to lash out because they've been so mean to you your whole life. I think there's a lot of people like that, actually. He takes it a little bit farther than most. He doesn't make a lifestyle out of it, a living off of it.
Yeah, actually, he does make a living out of it. He sells books. That's what this whole Meetup thing and the whole rape on private property was about. Getting publicity, getting attention, selling books. Alright? It's nothing but clickbait. That's simple.
So
most people.
So they have canceled these meetups. And the reason why they did that is hilarious. They're worried about their safety, right? So they're all tough guys online where they're like supportive of rape, and they're saying all these
really
terrible
fast,
things about people.
It's even worse than that, because it's not just that he has a pickup site. There's a lot of people who do pickup or seduction, and they don't all think that rape should be legal. There's huge differences, but his specifically is from evolution. Women want alpha males. They want masculine guys, and so they preach a return to masculinity.
Yeah.
You have to be the strongest gorilla around to get the woman. Oh, they're going to protest us? Let's not do that anymore.
Yeah, and see, all this stuff they're talking about has absolutely nothing to do with the men's rights movement, which is why we should not be associated with it. That fucking simple.
Yeah. So let me
So
tell
that's
you,
what makes it so ironic to me.
So here's what he said. He said, I can no longer guarantee the safety or privacy of the men who want to attend the February 6th, or attend on February 6th, especially since most of the meetups cannot be made private in time.
Do they really need their safety or privacy guaranteed? I thought they were alpha males.
But exactly.
That's
And
beta
by the way,
behavior, bro.
They went out of their way to publicize this and make it obvious that they were going to do these meetups. It's not like you were trying to avoid media attention and do these meetups in private. You're the one who wanted the attention to begin with.
And isn't it funny how Anna actually hits the nail right on the head here, but doesn't even realise what she's saying? Yes, they did make it public. Well, Roosh made it public because he wanted attention, because he wanted the media to focus on it and to go nuts and to give him all this attention. Do you not get that this is a publicity stunt? It's just unbelievable that you guys can't put this together.
While I can't stop men who want to continue meeting in private groups, there will be no official meetings for this, whatever, this group of pieces of shit. Okay.
Yes, Return of the Jedi. If you want to go to the website, they made a movie out of it a couple decades ago.
So there are some issues where I feel like, moderate men's rights activists are right, okay? And they're legitimate issues, like whether it has to do with alimony, sometimes when it comes to custody issues, sometimes when it comes to the difference of...
Ladies' night.
Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. Anna here is actually trying to talk about legitimate men's rights issues. I give her full credit for that. Unfortunately, she is interrupted with bullshit, right? And this is what we often get, where if someone is actually trying to make a legitimate point about legitimate men's rights issues, then a bullshit point is thrown in to diminish and dismiss actual issues. And that's exactly what has happened here.
Ladies' night, man. What the fuck is
What
that
the
about?
hell? If I actually wanted to go to a bar, man, ladies' night would piss me off. Thankfully, I don't.
There's a huge difference, not a huge difference, but there is some, differences between the way men get prosecuted for certain crimes versus women getting prosecuted for certain crimes. We've talked about this quite a bit on the show before.
That's true.
Female teacher has sex with one of her underage students, and everyone's like, oh, but was she hot? Oh, he probably wanted it. Whereas... Get out of here. Whereas with men, if they do the same thing, they're immediately pedophiles and their entire lives are ruined. And their lives should be ruined because they are pedophiles. But the same treatment should be true for women as well.
And although I agree with Anna on this particular point, I don't think she realises exactly how far spread this is. It's just not the 40-year-old teacher, female teacher, sleeping with the 12-year-old male student. Where there's a double standard. It's actually right throughout the entire legal system, where men on average get longer sentences for exactly the same crimes committed by a woman.
Now that I've said that, let me be absolutely clear about something. The men's rights activists that fall under this guy's category...
Oh, you mean the men's rights activists who aren't actually men's rights activists, but are used by dishonest journalists and feminists to demonise the entire men's rights movement. Is that the men's rights activists you're talking about, Anna?
Or the pickup artists that fall under this guy's category that are unreasonable and obviously have a lot of disdain for women?
You mean the pickup artists who aren't men's rights activists but are constantly called men's rights activists by dishonest journalists and feminists. Is that the pickup artists you're talking about, Anna?
Make me laugh. And the reason why they make me laugh is because they get together online and constantly whine and cry about not getting laid. And it's like, oh, these women don't want to fuck me. They want to fuck the bad boys. Man, I'm an alpha male. No, you're a little bitch. That's what you are.
You don't cry online. You cry alone by yourself like I do. Not in a group. That's sad.
Look, I honestly, I want you to get laid. I want you to have a happy, healthy sex life. And that's why I'm going to give you advice that you're not going to get on this website. stop whining about not getting laid. That's the number one thing that will prevent you from getting laid.
And of course, none of this has anything to do with the men's rights movement. Not a fucking thing.
Okay, stop listening to crazy people like the person who's running this website, because women find him disgusting. And so if you follow his logic or his tips, women aren't going to sleep with you, dude.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I love you.
Yeah.
Just be smarter than that.
But also, I love that this is something that you see with very religious conservative societies, and he comes from a couple of more religiously conservative places in the world.
That was an interesting reaction. What he avoided saying here is that Roosh V is Iranian. He was born in Iran. Now this is a point which is rather important much later in my video. But we've got a lot of shit to get through before we get to that. But just keep in mind that Roosh V is not white. He's Persian. Keep that in mind for much later.
He obviously wants him and his legion to go out and to sleep with as many people as possible, and he tries to do that when he can. But he is explicitly against female promiscuity. So, like, how does that actually work in practice? It's not like he's just trying to land the one perfect wife or anything like that. And I've always felt like, as much as most guys want to sleep with as many people as possible, I've always felt like it's important to me that in the moment she enjoys it, and afterwards she doesn't regret it and think that I'm a D-bag. I've always valued that. This guy has found a way to sort of push that out of his mind, I think.
What's really cool about that, too, I mean, what your preferences are is, like, the woman will come back if she doesn't think you're a D-bag.
Not in my experience, but the idea seems to bear out. So the thing that depresses me about this guy and his organization is that there are a lot of guys who were not given the training by their family, by society, to communicate with women in a way that women like, to present themselves in a way that women like. They don't know how to take good care of themselves. They don't know how to dress. They don't know how to communicate. They need to learn that stuff. And there are some places you can learn that. But some well-meaning guys go into a community like this thinking, oh, they have the secrets, and they get that information. But they also get 10 times as much BS, and they learn to resent women and hate women and think violent things about women. And they learn to just be pissed off at what society has done to them. And it's not necessary. You can just be educated by reasonable people and then go off and have happy relationships.
It is also very interesting because, look, radical feminists get a lot of criticism, right? And I don't come across these types of feminists often, but they exist, right? The ones that do seem to have some sort of disdain for men, right?
So you mean just the ones in the university, the ones in the media, the ones on YouTube, on Twitter, on Tumblr, on the internet in general, and the ones influencing the government? Just those few, just a handful. Is that what you mean, Anna? Just those? It's just one or two, I'm sure.
And so you'll hear men's rights activists railing against them. But while they rail against them, they make general statements about women the same way that these radical feminists would make general statements about men.
If you can find actual men's rights activists doing this, Anna, then I have no problem with you criticizing them. But when you use fucking pickup artists as your example of men's rights activists, then you're nothing more than a lying cunt. It's that simple. If you want to criticize the men's rights movement, fine. Use actual examples of men's rights activists. That fucking simple.
I mean, it kind of comes full circle. They're criticizing another group of people for doing exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
And look, there are gradations and nuances in every group, right? Whether it's feminists or men's rights activists.
Which you have already acknowledged.
Which I've acknowledged.
They should do what you've been doing.
And that's the thing that sucks, because I think that there are good points made by some feminists. I think there are good points made by men's rights activists, right? But unfortunately, these crazy fringe people in both groups get the attention. The squeaky wheel gets the attention.
Yes, and unfortunately, dishonest journalists like Anna and the Young Turks use non-MRAs as examples of MRAs to try to establish us as having extremists, Once again, if you find someone who is an extremist within the movement, who is an actual MRA, I got no problem with you criticising them. But when you have to go outside the movement and falsely label someone as a men's rights activist to make a point, then you are a dishonest, lying cunt. It's that fucking simple.
And
so
that happens when
them...
it becomes your identity. The group is who
right.
you are.
That's right.
And that can happen with any kind of group.
That's exactly right. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is don't let them hijack your common sense message.
So the interesting thing is, just after finishing that section of the video with the Young Turks, I found out that the Young Turks have actually removed their video. They've made it private. So I'm guessing they got a lot of nasty comments, angry comments in the comment section, telling them that pickup artists and men's rights activists aren't the same thing. So if this is actually the case, I consider this a bit of a victory. But the unfortunate thing is, what you've seen so far, the first 40 minutes of this video, is really just the warm-up act. We're really only getting started. The really crazy shit is still yet to come. And trust me when I say that the Young Turks video that you just saw is fair and moderate compared to what we're about to get into. So you might want to pause this video and go and pour yourself a rather strong alcoholic drink or something, because yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit yet to come. I should point out that the articles I'm about to look at, I'm only looking at the sections in the articles which relate to the men's rights movement. In some of these articles it's only a headline or a paragraph, in others it's most of the article. But I'm only focusing on those parts of the article which talks about the men's rights movement. As always, all the links are below, so if you want to go and read the entire articles, please feel free to do so, and I encourage you to do so. So the first article is from something called Left Foot Forward, and reading the headline, you might think that this article actually agrees with the points I've made so far. It reads, "What Roosh V advocates is nothing to do with men's rights." So let's actually have a look at the article and see why that headline is so fucking crazy.
Roosh V and his group are, without ambiguity, inciting violence. They advocate submission and subservience and rape of women. Return of Kings call themselves a men's rights group, which sounds harmless enough, but this is a media-friendly cover for violent and hate-filled misogyny. The group has nothing to do with equality, or fairness, or human rights, or relationships between men and women.
The idiocy here is really quite remarkable. So she starts out by claiming that Return of Kings calls itself a men's rights group, which it doesn't. In no reality does Return of Kings call itself a men's rights group. But she makes this false claim that they're a men's rights group, and then she criticises them for not focusing on equality, fairness and human rights, and not actually advocating for the rights of men. Do you think maybe the fact that they don't advocate for the rights of men is because they're not a fucking men's rights group? Is that a little bit too difficult to figure out? But unfortunately this is fairly common. They'll focus on a group or an individual who has nothing to do with the men's rights movement, and then they'll criticise them for not advocating for the rights of men. It's just fucking crazy. And of course it's a way to demonise the men's rights movement. It's a way for them to say, well, they claim to be about men's rights, but in reality they're really just about hating women or whatever. Anyway, the article goes on to say at the end,
"Please familiarize yourself with the Return of Kings website and decide for yourselves whether this is men's rights or violent hate speech."
So let's be very clear here. All this is a dirty trick. It's an attempt to associate the men's rights movement with a group which isn't a men's rights group, so they then can say, see, they don't advocate for men's rights at all. And that way they can try to dismiss actual men's rights activists and actual men's rights groups. It's like saying, see this tin of cheese? There's no cheese in it at all. We've been ripped off. It's a con. There's no cheese in this tin. And of course the New Statesman does almost exactly the same thing. The headline from their article reads, men's rights activist Roosh V isn't just a sexist, he hates the modern world. So right off they start with the claim that Roosh is a men's rights activist, which is a very interesting claim when we get a little bit further into the article.
Roosh V is a prominent member of the section of the internet known as the Manosphere. He runs popular websites including Return of Kings and his own blog, and began his career by writing guidebooks about how to pick up women in countries from Poland, what to do when a Polish guy inevitably tries to cock-block you, to Colombia, including an explanation into the Colombian Propaganda female, gold digger.
Okay, so far so good, and no mention of the men's rights movement. But let's continue.
Yet as demonstrated in a recent Reggie Yates documentary program about men's rights activists, 36-year-old Roosh seems a lot more interested in his own theories about society than in handing out pick-up tips. This is starting to sound like a conspiracy theory, Yates notes at one point.
Ah yes, the documentary about men's rights activists, which barely had any men's rights activists in it. Yeah, let's continue.
Roosh actually distanced himself from the men's rights community, or MRAs, though he arguably does fight for what he sees as men's rights, in 2009, when he argued that the group was filled with men incapable of taking action or improving their game with women. He would be more likely to self-describe as a pickup artist, or PUA, though his writing usually focuses on issues beyond simply how to pick up women.
So here they actually admit that the title of the article is an outright lie. Now the reason why they've done this, it's kind of a get out of jail free card. So when people accuse them of lying about Roosh being an MRA, they can say, well see, we said that he said he's not. But then they go on for the rest of the article, basically doing everything they can to associate Roosh with the men's rights movement, as we're about to see.
It's also worth noting that some of Roosh's pickup tactics and advice could be seen to encourage rape. It's probably fairer to call him pro-rape on these grounds, rather than his blog post. In another trope common to the MRA community, he believes women say no in order to play hard to get, and that any self-respecting pickup artist would override no, up to a certain point.
So here they try to paint Roosh as being a rapey, and then he tried to connect this to the men's rights movement as an attempt to demonize us and drag us down.
Beyond the more typical MRA beliefs, Roosh has a comprehensive argument for how feminism and other liberal, progressive attitudes are about to ruin the modern world. In a document titled, Cultural Collapse Theory, he outlines a world where women earn 25% more than women on average, children are taught to respect all religions but that of their ancestors, and the reproductive rate falls because women have careers.
Now here we have the line, beyond the more typical MRA beliefs. Now this line is designed to try to connect Roosh to the men's rights movement once again. But the line is very telling, because the fact that they have to do this once again reinforces the evidence that they know that Roosh is not a men's rights activist, and that they are just trying any way possible to connect him to the movement, which makes the headline once again an outright fucking lie. But let's move on to the Inquisitor with the wonderful headline, Make Rape Legal Event Cancelled. Men's rights activist Roosh calls off controversial worldwide meetings. So once again, we have the lie that it's a make rape legal event, which it was never billed as. This is an outright lie by the media, just purely fiction created out of thin air. And we also have the lie that Roosh is, in fact, a men's rights activist. But let's have a look at bits of the article.
The so-called Make Rape Legal events planned by controversial men's rights activist Roosh V have been cancelled amid a worldwide backlash. The internet-famous pickup artist known as Roosh V, Volazadeh had announced the events, which were supposed to take place on Saturday across 43 different countries. The so-called tribal meetings were organized through the Return of Kings website, a haven for men's rights activists and anti-feminists. The events were billed as an effort to make rape legal across the globe, citing a 2015 article from Roosh V in which he proposed making rape legal in private homes. Roosh V claimed that the story was satirical, and that the events scheduled this week were just a way for like-minded men's rights activists to meet and discuss issues.
So once again we have the claim that it was a make rape legal across the globe event, which was just created out of thin air by dishonest journalists and then repeated ad nauseum. It also claims that Roosh said that it was just to get together for like-minded men's rights activists to discuss issues. This is also an outright lie, because Roosh never mentioned anything to do with the men's rights movement or men's rights activists. In fact, the meetups had absolutely nothing to do with the men's rights movement. So this is yet another case of pure fiction created by dishonest journalistic hacks. But let's go have a look at the Examiner with the wonderful headline, Men's rights activist Roosh V advocates legalizing rape. So once again we have the two lies. The first one that he's a men's rights activist, and the second one that he's trying to legalize rape. But let's have a look at some of the article.
Sometimes there are people whose ideas are so extreme, so blatantly vile, that it's difficult to see where they are coming from. Whether it's blatant racism, pushing religious extremism, or misogyny that calls for the subjugation of women, these people somehow still find their way into modern society. One example of the latter is a men's rights activist, MRA, who goes by the name of Roosh V, Volazadeh. Oh, and he wants rape to be legal. You see, Roosh doesn't believe that women should be allowed to say no if they are on private property. He believes that no means no until it means yes. The founder of Return of Kings, which the savvy among you may recognize as the extreme MRA site that pushes for women to be treated as property, Roosh is easily one of the most despicable people with a platform.
And unfortunately, even websites that should know better have fallen for this. Snopes. Snopes is a website which is famous for debunking internet bullshit, and well, they partially debunk this, but they still get a lot wrong. So from Snopes.
A controversial men's rights activist advertised tribal meetings spanning multiple countries, but the event has now been cancelled. Claim: men's rights activist Roosh V organized a Make Rape Legal event across 43 countries on February 6, 2016. What's true? Men's rights tribal meetings were organized for February 6, 2016 via the Return of Kings website. Previous content hosted on that site advocated for loosening of rape laws or was generally misogynistic. On February 3, 2016, the website cancelled all planned meetings. What's false? Return of Kings scheduled an event billed as advocating making rape legal.
So, at least Snopes got part of it right, but it's disappointing that they still referred to him as a men's rights activist. I would have liked them to have actually got that part right too. For the record, I did send them a message, and I urge everyone to do the same. Maybe we could get them to actually change the article. Hopefully they're a bit more reasonable than the others that appear in this video. Speaking of the less reasonable, let's have a look at a wonderful article from NY Mag. It's titled, Coordinated National Men's Rights Meetup Will Create Wormholes of Deep Embarrassment at IHOPs around the world this weekend. So once again, it's billed as a men's rights meetup, even though Return of Kings has nothing to do with the men's rights movement. Anyway, let's actually jump into the article and read some of this bullshit.
International Tribal Meetup Day is the brainchild of Roosh V, better known as Roosh V, among the most successful and best known of the loose community of social incompetents that have banded together online as MRAs, men's rights activists. MRAs are generally aspiring pickup artists and aggrieved men who believe that masculinity itself is under attack. That's not an exaggeration. The topic is often discussed in military terms. As an MRA ringleader writes of the gatherings, while many of you certainly have normal friendships, chances are those friends are moderates who may not be dependable in times of crisis, and who may not defend you if a hostile enemy approaches. So the event is a chance for these MRAs to meet up offline and, I guess, best figure out how to harass women.
MRAs are generally aspiring pickup artists. Well there you go. That one line really sums up the whole anti-MRA attitude, isn't it? Because swapping tips on how to pick up women is exactly the same, apparently, as trying to reduce the number of males who commit suicide. Apparently they're exactly the same thing in the minds of these fucking dishonest morons. These fucking lying cunts. I don't think there's any other way to really describe them than that. And this is a typical anti-MRA article we have here. We have the false association. Of course, we have the attempt at shaming language, calling us social incompetence. So instead of actually attacking our arguments, they use false association and character assassination. And then, of course, they use the threat narrative of, they're just meeting up to harass women. Once again, not actually talking about real issues, but just creating a threat narrative. An MRA boogeyman. Nothing more than a straw man to try to fight. Because that's all they can do. They know they won't win when they actually try to tackle actual MRA issues. So all they do is create the MRA boogeyman, the MRA straw man to try to pull down. So anyway, the article goes on to say,
so if you see a group of handsome, strong MRAs gathered in an IHOP parking lot on Saturday, do not be alarmed. Maybe feel a little depressed, though. This whole endeavor is depressing.
So next, I guess we should have a look at an article from The Independent. It's titled, The Most Ironic Thing About Roosh V, His Unsexy Views Will End in Self-Imposed Abstinence. Anonymous complaints come in thick and fast regarding the big bad matriarchy, but none of these supposedly super masculine men are brave enough to out themselves as MRAs. Yeah. Do you think maybe that's because they're not MRAs? Do you think they're not identifying as men's rights activists because they don't fucking advocate for the rights of men? And of course, this entire article is just going to be filled with put-downs and sex shaming, which is 100% predictable, isn't it? It's a typical anti-MRA article. But let's have a look at it.
There's a strange part of me that sympathizes with men's rights activists. There are strands of feminism that can seem oppressive to blokes. The rise of phenomena such as sexual consent classes and Twitter storms about the patriarchy have left a generation of men feeling alienated. Dare I say they may even feel confused about the rules of modern society and how their masculinity fits into this.
So there is some truth in this. There is a generation of men who feel alienated, and that's because the feminist narrative has been attacking and demonizing masculinity for decades now. So it's not surprising that there are many men who are pissed off at that. They should be. I definitely am. And it's not surprising that people like Roosh pop up as a reaction to this. Unfortunately, I don't think that feminist views of masculinity are really any better than Roosh's views of masculinity. Although they may be exact opposites, I think they're both restrictive. You see, feminists see masculinity as nothing but bad and something that should be destroyed or diminished, something that should be forced to become more feminine. Whereas Roosh's neo-masculinity bullshit is more along the lines of raising masculinity up higher and above femininity, and saying that men should be masculine. Personally, I think that neither one is correct. I think an individual should be what they naturally are. If they're naturally masculine, there's no problem with that. If they're naturally feminine, there's no problem with that. It should basically be up to the individual to choose. Which is why I don't want to be associated with Roosh any more than I want to be associated with the feminists who attack masculinity. Both masculinity and femininity have good and bad aspects to them. And to demonize one and praise the other is sheer ignorance. But let's continue with the article.
This unhappiness has led to the formation of neo-masculinist groups such as Return of Kings. Its founder, Roosh V, a professional pickup artist, has been in the public's consciousness ever since his plans to run global gatherings hit the headlines.
So here she clearly states that Roosh V is a pickup artist. Now the question that you should be asking yourself is, does she know the difference between a pickup artist and a men's rights activist? Because there's two possibilities here. The first one is that she's completely ignorant about what the topic that she's discussing, and she has just made the assumption that pickup artists and men's rights activists are exactly the same thing, because chasing pussy is exactly the same as advocating for the rights of men, right? The other possibility, of course, is that she is a fucking liar, and she knows that there is a difference, but she's combining the two groups into one for a political agenda. Now, I honestly don't know which one it is in this case. I'll let you make up your own minds. But let's continue and see if we get any hints.
If I were to speculate on why, I'd say, aside from safety concerns, it's because, deep down, men's rights activists know there's nothing macho about what they're doing. I can think of anything less manly than a group of chaps coming together to bitch about my XX crummy homies. And that also goes for the internet, where the anonymous complaints come in thick and fast regarding the big, bad matriarchy. Surely a true neo-masculinist would engage with his perceived enemy. But these hyper-masculine individuals can't even do that, as their meetups are solely for heterosexual men.
So this entire paragraph is nothing but an attempt to shame masculinity. Now clearly she is associating men's rights activism with some kind of pickup artists, hyper masculinity, macho bullshit. Now she's either doing this out of ignorance, or she's doing it because it's a cheap and easy shot to take at us. Once again, I'll let you decide.
The other major flaw in being identified as a men's rights activist is its lack of sex appeal. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it has the same erotic effect as being smeared in dog turds. For what sensible woman would ever want to touch the likes of Roosh V? Now his views have been exposed. This is the greatest shame of all, because it seems to me that even if Roosh V thinks women aren't great in many respects, he likes sex with us.
And of course we go from shaming of masculinity now to sex shaming, with the threat that if you disagree with the narrative, you will never get laid again. Now this to me would suggest that she simply doesn't know or understand the difference between a pickup artist and a men's rights activist, and I'm guessing that she assumes that the extent of men's rights activism is trying to get laid or some such nonsense. In other words, she's a complete fucking idiot. Of course, the other possibility that she knows there is a difference would then suggest that she is in fact making a threat. You see, if those men's rights activists go and actually advocate for the issues of men, actually are concerned about the issues of men, as opposed to putting the issues of women first and foremost, and only being concerned with them. If they dare to actually think about, men who are in trouble or dying or have their rights violated, then they simply won't get laid. It's basically saying if you want pussy, you always put women first. Now, I've got a very simple message to any woman who thinks that way. Please feel free to go fuck yourself, because I have no intention of ever fucking you. And hopefully I can speak for all MRAs. Next.
So quite aside from banning Roosh V from the UK, I think we should remember that, really, to be a famous men's rights activist, in his case, a polite expression for sexist, is to impose your very own sex ban. Which is probably the worst punishment of all for a pickup artist. I would have never argued for the talks to be banned, as I believe groups have the right to express their ideologies, so long as they do not make material steps to act on them. But another part of me celebrates the termination of these events, as I hope this acts as a wake-up call for many men's rights activists. Specifically, I hope many of them ask themselves why, if they're so macho and correct in their ideologies, they run away from self-identification.
Now I'm going to do one more article, well, parts of one more article, before moving on to look at the reaction to these articles. And trust me, you really want to stick around to see that part of the video. It's going to get very interesting, trust me. But the one last article I want to look at is from Vice. Yes, of course, Vice never lets us down with its truckload of propaganda and bullshit. So, this article is called How Men's Rights Activists Make Money Off White Dudes Who Want to Feel Oppressed. Oh boy, this one's going to be a doozy.
Pickup artists generate profit along broadly similar lines to the Western military-industrial complex. First, take a disenfranchised, embittered man, frustrated by the lack of opportunities for financial and sexual advancement in civilian beta society. Second, convince him that he can give his life meaning by uniting with other men to assert his dominance over inferior bodies. Degenerate brown bodies in one instance. Biologically inferior female bodies in the other. Tell him that this war is just, and his part in it significant. Women die at the hands of foot soldiers in the MRA war against women. Frustrated to the point of rage by a 9-year dry spell, George Sodini sought the advice of pickup artists like Roosh. He went to their conferences, bought their books, and posted on their forums. But his investment failed to generate any sexual return. Journal entries detail his rage at the 30 million desirable single women, who he calculates, rejected him. So he shot 3 desirable women to death, and then killed himself. PUA seized upon his suicide as proof that celibacy is walking death, weaponizing his failure to hawk their products. Don't be George Sodini, seriously, get some game and get real, wrote one MRA huckster, linking to his own online store. Sodini is an extreme case, but he embodies the lies peddled by Roosh and his ilk. In reality, there are a couple of reasons why men aren't getting laid. Either they fall outside of patriarchally imposed norms of attractiveness, or they're sexist pricks. But MRAs offer an enticing third option, far easier than working to deconstruct external patriarchal values and internalized patriarchal behaviors. The red pill offers up a tangible, external enemy, and the subsequent opportunity to wallow in self-pity about the unfairness of a supposedly matriarchal society that won't let you get your end away.
So I started off this video talking about the decline of journalism, and I think this Vice article is the perfect example of that. It's full of ideology, it relies on false stereotypes and false associations, and outright lies, of course. Anything to support the ideology as opposed to actually finding and defending the truth. In fact, reading this Vice article kind of gives you a feeling which is somewhere in between stepping in dog shit and being hit in the head by a sledgehammer. Now, I was planning to do many more articles. I actually had quite a list. I didn't get through all of them because I've run out of time. I know you're looking at the video saying, well, there's still 40 or 50 minutes to go, because I'm going to look at the reaction to these articles in a second. Trust me, you really want to stick around for that. So I've still got a lot to get through. But the links to all the articles I have covered, as well as the articles I was intending to cover, are below. I recommend you go read them all. If you're a content creator on YouTube, maybe you'd like to do a video on them, because these things should be exposed as much as possible. And I'm happy to say, when I was doing research for these articles, I often found that many, or in some cases the majority of comments in their comment section were actually calling them out on their bullshit. And I highly recommend everyone does this. Whenever you see an article which is full of bullshit, like the ones you've seen here, calmly and politely point out that they're full of shit. And if you can use citations as well and provide some kind of evidence, that's even better. Now, in most cases, I don't think you're going to change the minds of the so-called journalists, because in most cases they have an agenda. In some cases they're just ignorant and probably unlikely to admit that they've made a mistake, but in most cases I think they have an agenda and they're not going to be interested in listening to you. But there are other people who don't have an agenda, who come along and read these articles and then read the comment section, and it's good to have a counter argument there. So please do your part and keep that in mind. Now, moving on to the last section of this video, I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. Once again, I recommend that you pause the video and go pour yourself a rather stiff drink, because yeah, there's a whole lot of stupid to work through in the remainder of this video. I should make a couple of points before moving into it, though. The first one is, although some of these people do connect Roosh to the men's rights movement, not all of them do. In fact, I think most of them don't. You'll see the ones that do. I've left those bits in. But this is more to do with people's reactions to bad journalism and how it creates a hysteria. So the main focus of this isn't the false association between Roosh and the men's rights movement, because I've already covered that significantly. It's more to do with the hysteria that this type of bad journalism creates, and you will see that firsthand in a minute or two. I should also point out that the Roosh V guy, you'll know who he is when you see him. He put up something like a 40-minute long video. I've only included a couple of minutes of his video, but in his 40-minute long video he did go to Snopes and partially debunk the claims. So I should give him credit for that, just to be fair, although I haven't included those bits because I'm focusing more on the hysteria and the panic that these type of articles create. But I should just mention that because he at least partially debunked the claims, so it's only fair I give him credit for that. As always, the links to all the videos are below. I recommend you go watch them all in full, so you get the full context of what they're saying. Once again, I highly recommend you pause, go pour yourself a drink, sit back and relax, and just prepare yourself for the onslaught of stupid. You have been warned. I normally don't do trigger warnings, but in this case I kind of have to, just for your own safety. Anyway, let's get stuck into it.
So I do want to talk about it. It's kind of hard for me to describe, though. If you've never heard of this before, it's kind of hard for you to wrap your mind around. So I'm going to try my best. Have you ever seen the movie Fight Club? Okay, in the movie Fight Club, there's this terrorist organization that forms that goes out and blows up buildings, picks fights, tries to just cause mass anarchy, and wants to bring the entire government system down. Now, this terrorist organization is composed of only straight white dudes in kind of middle-class working environments. All straight white dudes, about my age. Now, the reason why this terrorist organization forms, and the reason why it's only of straight white dudes, is because these guys watched a lot of television, and they figured that because they were straight white dudes, they should have all ended up rich and famous and like rock stars. But they didn't. They lived regular lives and had regular things happen to them. They didn't live bad lives. They lived regular lives. But they figured they were owed famous, riches, being rock stars, being celebrities, being astronauts. They figured because they were white dudes, because of their race, because of their gender, they were owed that.
Is he talking about the same Fight Club? It doesn't sound like it. That would have to be the strangest interpretation of Fight Club I think I've ever heard. The whole point of Fight Club is a group of guys who are rejecting superficial things that define their lives, like consumerism and advertising. I mean, the main character blows up his expensive apartment with all its expensive furniture and goes to live in an abandoned house, an abandoned rundown house. That's hardly wanting to be a rock star or an astronaut and to be rich and famous. Very bizarre. And it doesn't get any better from here, folks.
And when they didn't get it, they decided to try and take the system down. Now that sounds like a pretty ridiculous concept for why a terrorist organization would form, but here's the rub. They're real. They are a real physical thing. The internet term for them has been coined as the manosphere. And it's basically this massive collection of different groups online, such as MRAs, incels, men going their own way, and a whole bunch of other random names.
A whole bunch of other random names. Yes, all the names in the manosphere are just random. I mean, men's rights activists who advocate for the rights of men, that's just a random name. And the pickup artists who focus on picking up women, once again, just a random name.
All these groups literally do the exact same thing. They're all about the exact same thing, and they all have the same speeches and all have the same rhetoric.
Yes, because trying to reduce the number of males who commit suicide or trying to outlaw male circumcision, that's exactly the same as swapping tips on how to chase pussy, right? No difference there whatsoever.
They're all composed of mostly straight white guys. Mostly.
Well, that's an interesting observation, because if we're talking about the Western world, then most people in the West are straight and most people are, in fact, white. And if you're talking about people who are concerned with men's issues, then most of them logically would be male, just as most feminists throughout the West are in fact straight, white and female. But of course this is just a weak attempt of trying to demonize MRAs as being sexist and homophobic and racist or some other bullshit. He ignores, of course, that most MRAs in India are in fact Indian. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the fact that most people in India are in fact Indian, and I'm sure it's because of racism or something. I don't know. Oh, but hold on, he wouldn't be making that argument against Indians, would he? Because that would be racist.
And they all just hate everybody else. Everybody else. Now, unlike the Fight Club from the movie who tried to take down the government, these guys, they want to pick on people that they see as weaker than them. Because some of them are fully aware that they're privileged bastards. So they pick on women. And they pick on people that are queer. And they pick on different races. And they literally pick on everybody. And they have done some horrendous things.
Any evidence for which he fails to present. How predictable is that?
One of the worst groups, and that's a real accomplishment, is called Return of Kings. And it's ran by this dude called Roosh V.
I want to talk about pretty much what Roosh V stands for, right? The Return of Kings. They're anti-gay, LGBTQ, you know. They are anti... What else are they anti? Oh, anti-women. Anti-feminism. And one of the big things that this is for is to make rape, not be able to prosecute rape if it's committed on private property. So that then women know not to go in a man's house, because that's how the real world works, you know.
On February 6th, they're planning a meeting to legalize rape.
And this whole Roosh V thing is just like driving me insane.
Okay, so there's this fucking idiot called Roosh V, real name Dariush Vilazadi, and he's decided he's going to host fucking pro-rape events across the world. Now this fucking plum is a self-proclaimed neo-masculinist and pick-up artist who's fucking published. He has no less than 15 self-published books doing the rounds, covering mainly how you can pick up girls, and one of his methods is to stop asking. Yeah, this cunt basically advocates rape.
What in the world are they thinking? Why would anyone want to legalize rape? In what situation can you say raping somebody was okay?
Hello, funny little girly man whose name I cannot pronounce. So you think that legalizing rape is a good idea? Listen, my dear man, I might be known as the clown prince of crime, but even I think that's a little extreme. No, but in all seriousness, there is this asshole who thinks that it's a good idea to legalize rape because men in today's society have a plight with being a real man. This is some fucking asshole with a fucking hipster beard and like that little like where he does his hair like this and it goes down like this. It's like, yeah, dude, you look like a rapist.
Guys, Davison here, the man behind the belief that rape should be legal on private property. Yes, you heard that correctly. He actually believes that rape should be legal on private property so that women learn how to prevent rape, which in his words is highly preventable, is organizing an international meetup day. Now, the man's name is Roosh. He's an infamous misogynist and pickup artist.
I hear this is a very important video for everybody to watch because it's affecting everywhere in the world. Basically what's going on is this sick and twisted guy named Roosh has decided he's going to basically build up a cult or a following of pretty much pro-rape people.
In my mind, by saying that you want sexual assault to be legal, you are literally telling all of the people that are survivors of sexual assault and other traumatic experiences that everything that they went through and telling their stories is no longer relevant because you don't see sexual assault as an issue and you think sexual assault should be ingrained into our society, which is probably the most idiotic and harmful thing that I've ever heard in my entire life.
This guy is a male chauvinist pig to the extreme. This is the kind of guy who would make anybody who hates feminazis like myself support them. You won't believe what this guy had planned for this Saturday. But before I get into that, let me just take a little stroll through his website, which is called Return of Kings.
This is why no one likes Americans. I swear to God. If you ask me why other countries don't like Americans, this is probably one of the reasons, and one of the reasons why other countries don't like Americans.
I want to go ahead and talk about something here that came to my attention here about somebody. I've never heard of this before today, but somebody named Roosh V.
Here are some of the top articles that he puts down on his website. a 3-point primer in modern female privilege. Rape culture was manufactured to wage an unjust war against men. The equality movement is allowing women to terrorize men. 10 reasons why foreign women are better than the American women. And just all kinds of ridiculous male chauvinist, arrogant, ignorant bullshit like that.
These people attending the meeting either never had a female figure in their life or never had a woman of his own. And probably prostitutes are just way too pricey nowadays.
And he hosts workshops for other woman-hating men to go attract the women they hate and to build confidence, because obviously women cannot love them to provide them confidence because they actually hate women. So what sane woman would ever love someone like that?
Is evidently getting together with or trying to form supporters for a legal rape function and try to make rape legal. And that's the rumor that's going around. And this Saturday, February 6th.
Now they're planning to have this meeting this Saturday, February the 6th, literally all over the world at about 8 o'clock. One's happening in Ottawa, in Canada, a whole bunch are happening in the US. And there's other ones happening all over the world, Australia, every country you could think of.
Let's take a little fucking look at what he had planned for this Saturday. This is beautiful. Roosh V plans Rape Should Be Legal meetup in Toronto.
He's setting up a bunch of meetings in 43 different countries in over 160 cities all over the world. And it's pretty fucking sick and disgusting that he has this many followers, that he can do something like this in this day and age, in 2016, that this kind of shit is still going on. But as far as I checked, this is legitimate and actually happening. It's happening February 6th at 8 p.m. local time.
So, the funny part of all this, but it's not really funny, is in the 43 countries where these men are meeting up, when they meet up at these not so top secret locations, and I'll get to that, in order to confirm that the other men there are part of this international meetup day to discuss such things as raping women on your sofa because you can't get laid any other way, they ask each other the question, do you know where I can find a pet shop? See,
if you're close by to where this meeting happens, you're supposed to say to one of the people who's going to be at the meeting, do you know where the pet shop is? And that person will respond, it's right here. And then they'll lead you to where the meetup is.
my answer would be, if I could attend, but I can't because women and members of the LGBTQ community cannot attend, would be, I know exactly where a pet shop is where you guys should go. It has tons of animals stuck in cages. It's called prison.
You know what? Actually, Mr. Person whose name I cannot pronounce, I hope you get put in prison and get raped.
Yeah. No. I feel like every man who thinks that rape should be legalized should be raped themselves. Like, you should throw them in cell block B with Junebug and Big D and M, and then they should go ahead and get it.
All right, so look. I really do. I hope you get raped in the ass with a big, huge nigger dick.
Looking at the animals. Ooh, look at the gazelles. Ooh, look at the lions. Ooh, the lions. And then your friend says, hey, let's go check out the gorillas. So you and your friends go check out the gorillas. And one of your friends thinks it's okay for you to take a picture with the gorilla. So you lean on the banister or whatever. Boom, taking a little flick, looking fly. I hope you're looking fresh too, because, you know, rapists is always looking fresh, I guess. So you're looking fresh, and then the little bar thing breaks. I hope it breaks. And then you fall into the gorilla pit. Now you on the gorilla pit. Probably fell on some dookie too. So your fly clothes are in dookie, and you in the gorilla pit covered in dookie, right? And then I hope the biggest, most hairiest gorilla, body full of scars from combat and war, comes up to you and booty pounds the ability to produce saliva out of your mouth.
That is why I proposed that before Saturday, February the 6th at 8 p.m., that you consult the website that I'm going to take a screen cap of and show you at the end of this video. I'm also going to provide a link to it in the video description, and you figure out where the local hateful meetups are taking place, and you call your local police department and you report these meetups as hate group meetups, because these are meetups for men to meet other men who absolutely hate women and wish violence upon them.
And if you feel directly threatened during this event, make sure you call your local police and say that there's a hate crime going on. I'm sure local police has probably already been informed of this, so it might already be shut down before it starts.
So, I actually called a the local police department here in Boise to find out if they had known about this, if they knew anything about this, that kind of thing, just to see what they said about it. And I'll have that full phone call here for you in just a moment.
Be sure to report this to your local police department, and you can show these boys where the real pet store is.
Boise City Police Records, this is Colleen, can I help you?
Hey, yeah, I was just calling here as a local resident, seeing if you guys had some information here on a Roosh V, supposedly meeting up at the Capitol building this Saturday night for men haters trying to legalize rape. Have you heard about that?
Now, they've actually publicized where the meetups are. They're not the most clever bunch.
From there, any exposure that you give me, it now helps. Calling me a rapist now, it does not hurt me anymore. It actually increases the amount of people who visit me, who read my books and articles.
But they have changed some of the locations. Now, some politicians and groups have spoken out against this, but not nearly enough people, which is why I'm making this video, because a lot of people aren't even aware. Roosh V, the guy who runs this group, is literally a guy that has become rich off of books that he's written about his sex life. And I use the quotations because it's not really a sex life. It's stories about him getting women drunk and then sleeping with them without their consent.
He claims to be one of those red pill supporters. If you don't know what that means, basically the blue pill applies to a guy who's more of like the beta, is the nice guy, gets screwed over a lot, all that kind of shit. And the red pill guy is the alpha, the one who knows how to hold himself, the one who knows how to treat women in a way that is makes him come off as the good guy, but still getting all the women and things like that. He knows how to hold his own. And he tries to incorporate it into this. I've read a lot on the red pill and the blue pill.
They're rape manuals, and he sells them and gets rich off of them.
Big surprise that the guy who looks like a fucking rapist, his name is the name of this title. I can't even pronounce his name because it's some freaky deaky fucking name. I don't know his fucking where the fuck it comes from, but it's some freak. Apparently from some freaky deaky ass backwards fucking country where they think it's okay to rape people.
The Return of the King's website has written article after article after article describing in massive detail why women and other races that aren't white and queer people don't count as human beings.
Which is a very strange claim, considering Roosh V himself was born in Iran and is of Persian background. But, don't let the facts get in the way.
Massive arguments for why they're not human. They literally made a post. Roosh V made like a massive essay about why rape should be legalized if it's on private property.
It's not. It's just not. But what if no? But what if no? But what if no? You don't rape people, man.
You guys are so stupid. You guys are so stupid.
He made this huge essay, and it never even occurred to him for a moment that it could result in men being raped. Because in their minds, men can't be raped.
Feminazis are fucking crazy women, okay? They don't understand the way the world works. But you know what? I've never seen a feminazi say that they want to be able to rape men legally. They've never fucking said that.
Now, that's not exactly true now, is it? Because recently in Israel, there was a feminist group who put a stop to a change in legislation that would have enabled the courts to acknowledge that a woman can rape a man. But thanks to this feminist group, women are still not seen as being capable of rape. So technically it is legal for a woman to rape a man in Israel. And I would assume it's legal for her to rape another woman as well.
And I know what you're thinking.
Buddy, men get raped too. So why are you only naming female figures?
Which I kind of don't understand why you will be thinking that, you nitpicking bastard you. Yes, men get raped too. But it's frequently known for a woman to get raped by men or other women. And I'm gonna keep it 100. There's little that you could do to rape a man, like in the streets. Like a random man walking down the street, he could run up on him, but then he runs the risk of fighting and losing. You feel me? And with a female, people just run up on them and jump on top of them, and they could fight back too. But unless you know some bone breaking or carrying a strap, it's dead over.
So he made this huge argument for why women should be raped. Huge. And his followers gobbled it up. Whenever a guy gets a gun and kills several people, these guys complain about the person not killing more.
Citation needed, asshole.
Some of the people in these groups, and one guy from an incel group, for example, did get a gun and kill several people. And the people complained that he didn't kill nearly enough.
Clearly he didn't get enough attention from the ladies when he was younger, so has resorted to this as an adult. He's a few coconuts short of Elliot Rodger. Remember him? The nutcase who shot up his university peers because he couldn't bang? That's basically what this prick is, but without the insanity, or guts if you can call it that, to do something drastic.
These guys are dangerous. And I can't emphasize how dangerous they are. Every now and then, one of them gets a gun and starts shooting. And the ones that don't shoot brag about how they're going to get away with rape.
These meetings are pretty much teaching men how to pick up women, which is through rape. So he's basically teaching men how to rape women.
Or they state over and over again, women just make up rape stories. I got framed. Ah! They are so dangerous, I can't even stress it.
This asshole at one point was even quoted to say, if a woman is passed out drunk on my front yard, then it's all fair game.
Roosh is a person who identifies to be pro-rape or pro-sexual assault would be the better term to use for that, and I have a lot of problems with that.
The man who organized this meeting is a confessed rapist too.
I can't stress it enough. And these meetings are really one of the first of them meeting offline. Now you might be saying, if they never meet in real life, how can they be dangerous? Well, they hack people's online accounts. They do online harassment campaigns. They do countless different things.
I'm just very upset about this whole thing. Especially because people on YouTube won't talk about it. The people who are usually so, they talk a lot of talk about caring about social issues. And I'm not talking about the SJWs right now, because the SJWs are going to be all over this shit.
There's a reason why a lot of feminist videos, their comment sections are blocked off. They're the reason. They're the literal reason.
But then when I saw the reaction, it was like, oh my god, you want to know what? They are just a reactionary group. They don't have that much power. You guys might have a lot of power, maybe in YouTube, in your groups, but if you only have a lot of power in your tiny little group.
But if you're someone who sits there who makes fun of feminism on the internet, which is fine. Makes fun of SJWs, which is fine. Different ideologies, fine. But I hope you don't support this type of behavior.
You know? What you doing? Where you going? What do you want?
So it's frustrating seeing all of these people who I see these people on my Twitter, and they're YouTubers that I respect and I like, and I don't agree with them a lot of the time, and these are typically the people who are not feminists, whatever, but say they aren't feminists because they actually do care about equality and all of this other stuff, which is all fine and dandy, but all they can do is sit there and fucking make jokes about feminism.
And Return of Kings doesn't give a fuck about trans men. Doesn't give a fuck about the LGBTQ. And does the MRA do the MRAs?
Yeah, actually we do, which is why it's advisable not to lump us in the same category as the pickup artists. Okay? Different groups, different methods, different goals. Oh, and by the way, it's not the MRA unless you're talking about an individual. It's the Men's Rights Movement, or MRM.
These meetings, though, are a big step for them. They're their first actual meetings of them actually getting together and talking and intermingling.
Actually, no. The pickup artists have been holding seminars for years. Roosh has been having meetups and seminars for years. This is nothing new for them.
So there's basically 3 things that can result from these meetings. Number 1, feminists are going to protest them, and they're going to pull out a little camera and videotape it, and then claim that they're the real victims and have themselves a cry.
First off, you are gonna get your ass handed to you. Do you understand that? Already, oh my god. Oh my god, and it's so funny, the main reaction I've seen on Facebook? It's so funny on YouTube, it's all these anti-feminists, there's so many more of them, and then when you get on, Facebook and, all, the real people, they're all wait, who the fuck are these people?
What I propose is that anyone who has any knowledge of where and when these meetups will occur should post it all over Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. Let people know where these cunts are and take it to them.
So it's moments like these where male chauvinist cocksucking pieces of fucking shit like you need to be fucking put away. Fuck this guy. Arrest this fucking piece of shit asshole.
No! And if I ever meet you, I'm gonna fucking kill you. That ain't a fucking joke either, son. People like you deserve to die.
I want you all to go to his website, check out some of his blogs, I'll post the links down below. You know what else too? An article was even released saying that he cancelled the rallies in Toronto. By the way, it wasn't just Toronto, he actually had a listing for almost the entire world. But anyway, he cancelled the fucking rally because of safety of his fellow men.
I hope anybody, look up this guy, look up his name, remember his face. You ever see him anywhere? Fucking kill him. Beat him, hurt him, cut his cock off, torture him, because that's what these kind of disgusting delinquents deserve.
No fucking shit, safety! What kind of woman, or any man besides the fucking idiots who follow you, would ever support your stupid fucking ideas? I hope anybody who comes down there, anybody who sees you, punches you in the fucking face and ends you up in the fucking hospital, or better yet, kills you for your stupid fucking chauvinistic ideas, you piece of fucking shit.
And you know what's funny? He was gonna have a whole rally and everything, and then he got threatened by these female boxers, and he's like, I cannot ensure the protection and safety of my members. Yeah, you know why? Because your members are a bunch of pussies that can't take on some women. But you know what? Kudos to those girls, because that's the response you should have. You should want to destroy people like that, and I fully support it. If you were to kill these men, I wouldn't shed a tear. I'd drink a glass in your honor. To you, my dear. And shall we always have freedom and respect, and a common goal for all of humanity.
I don't even care if you fucking cancel the rally, because you didn't cancel out of morality. You didn't cancel out of principle. You canceled out of fear because you know that your ideas are fucking ignorant and stupid, you dumb shit motherfucker.
Which is going to be unbelievably sad. Number 2, nothing's going to happen. Then they're going to get away with their little meetings, and they're going to be emboldened and think they can get away with anything. And then eventually some of them are going to kill people, because that's what they talk about, killing people.
Citation needed, asshole.
Or number 3, cops will actually do their job and arrest some of these guys, because this is breaking the law.
No. Roosh and his Return of Kings followers meeting up is not breaking the law.
They have made massive statements of how they're going to rape countless women.
And here, folks, we have the perfect example of the hysteria which is caused by these bullshit articles.
These are acts of terrorism. They are using terror to get what they want. They want to scare people into silence. People make videos against these guys, and they do harassment campaigns to try and take the videos down. These guys are terrorists. They're not very skilled terrorists. They don't really know what they're doing a lot of the time, but they're still that. You could argue they're in training, but they're still in training. So, all I can say is, if you're in one of the areas, you might want to think about getting out or calling the cops.
So it's pretty scary, and I'm going to post a link in the description setting off all the different locations. It is a Facebook link. I will try to find one that's not a Facebook link. But yeah, it's pretty scary shit, and just stay safe, guys. If you're near these locations, just stay home, and because he has promised that there will be violence if anybody that is not a heterosexual, preferably white and male, shows up at this meeting, that he will there will be repercussions, there will be violence, and if you are female or have female genitalia, you will be raped.
Especially if you're a woman, or you're a different race, or you're queer, because they are fully aware of their privilege. They are fully aware they can step down on you and try to crush you. They are that bright. They aren't very bright, but they're that bright. Sorry if I accidentally been ableist there. It's hard to put my words into proper emotions to describe just how horrible these guys are. But yeah, if you're aware of where they're meeting up, call the cops. If somebody asks you where a pet shop is, punch their lights out.
So, I can't help but interrupt and laugh at this, because he goes on and on and on about how evil all the manosphere is, and how we're out to rape women, and we're terrorists, and we're forcing people to remove their videos who disagree with us, and we're violent and all this other stuff. And then he advocates that you go up and punch Roosh or any of his followers in the face. Yeah, that pretty much says it all, doesn't it?
And make people aware. I'm going to post some links to some petitions against these guys in the description section for this video. Sign all of them if you have the time. You should have the time. It's easy to sign a petition, but just sign all of them. These guys have literally written essays, literal essays on why women and other people, other races and other sexualities should not be considered human.
Once again, let me stress, Roosh was born in Iran. He is of Persian background. So are his followers going to beat the shit out of him too because they don't believe he's human? Is that what you're saying? Or maybe you're just lying. And I really hate the fact that you've put me in a position where I'm fucking defending Return of Kings, you fucking asshole.
Entire essays. After essays, after essays, after essays. And they don't see queer people or women or other races as people anymore. They see them as green-haired, violent, evil feminists that need to be stopped. And because they don't see us like humans, there's no telling how they will respond to us or what they could do to somebody.
You mean like falsely claiming that someone is holding a pro-rape meeting and then advocating that that person be physically assaulted or raped? Is that the type of thing that you're talking about? Because that seems to be what's coming from your side.
I've been doing a review series on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the movie series, and I keep saying in that Leatherface is scary because he has no concept of what humanity is.
Let me guess. Leatherface is an MRA as well, right? He's a men's rights activist? That's what you're going to claim?
And I know Milo Yiannopoulos defends a lot of bad behavior. Let's just say that. So,
and when I was actually alerted of this, it was like, hey, you know, there's a gathering of these people in Boise, and I live right close to Boise, and it's like, make sure you keep all the women in your life out of the area of Boise because these guys are going to be raping women.
And these guys don't either. Roosh V is a mid-rapist, and he should go to prison for the rest of his days. So sign the petitions I post, and be aware, I'm going to even post a page from his site listing some locations. So if you're in the areas, just be aware.
When something like this is happening, you can't just sit there and act like it's not happening. And act like this targeting, the specific strategic targeting, he calls it himself, of women isn't happening, because it obviously is. And people sign up to see this guy. A lot of people do. And these are people that could work with you or be your friends or ask you on a date, and that's terrifying.
So, please stay safe and err on the side of caution and just avoid these places during that time.
Yes, this is good advice. The best thing you can do is maybe hide under your bed and never ever come out again. That way, I'm sure you'll be safe. Unless there's a ghost or something under there, which, you know, that could be a problem. But as long as the ghost isn't a rapist, I think you're pretty safe. Just be careful that the ghost isn't wearing a fedora. That's all. But just make sure that you never ever leave the house again, because there's just danger everywhere.
But they saw Jezebel and be like, oh, that's all your feminism. That's all your feminism. And then they see Anita Sarkeesian farted, and then are like, look at her, she's a bitch. It's like, if I will see one more fucking, like, thing on my YouTube feed about Anita fucking Sarkeesian, can you let it go? Let it go, let it go. Fucking let it go. Fucking let it go. It's so old. It's a fucking old biscuit.
You know, and stay in your house. Be careful. Make sure that, you know, any women you know have a man with them. That's kind of how I was told about it.
These guys are dangerous. They are the definition of dangerous. And so far, nobody takes them seriously enough because they are white, because they are guys. But dude, we gotta start, like, actually holding them accountable, or else they'll just keep being bolded and keep doing what they're doing, and their crimes are escalating.
Citation needed, asshole.
This man is no more than a skid mark on the pants of society. Is that small sympathy fight you sometimes get after you've had a really intense shit?
At 8 p.m. local time, evidently there's 165 cities all around the world where Roosh is actually trying to get people together. The rumor is to try to legalize rape and take some kind of hate out on women.
And yet again, like I say, read, learn this stuff for yourself so that, because anytime you have knowledge behind you, you're never gonna lose. Ever.
And it's disgusting and horrible, and it's apparently legit.
It is escalating, and eventually it's going to blow.
Fuck you, asshole! What the fuck are you talking about? It's all fucking fair game. It doesn't fucking matter if a woman is drunk. It doesn't fucking matter if she's fucking passed out or if she's fucking wearing a skirt. This is the kind of asshole who goes, oh, she's wearing a fucking short skirt. She's asking to be raped. Oh, she's in a club. She's asking to be raped. Oh, she's fucking drunk. She's asking to be raped. It doesn't fucking matter what her state is, you piece of fucking horse shit. Fuck this guy. Women need to be able to consent 100% of the time. If she is not able to consent because she's either fucking asleep, passed out, drunk, or whatever, or can't fucking talk, I don't give a shit what your excuse is. There is 0% excuse for a man to rape a woman.
I'm sorry. Just the fact that people support this guy, or people think this guy is funny, or people promote this guy is pretty fucking terrifying to me.
And when it does, you just better pray to God you're way the crap away. So yeah, I'm going to post some links, sign it, make yourself aware, and if you're in those areas, be warned, these creeps are actually meeting up to talk about how awesome they are and about how they should get away with rape. And I'm being definitely serious when I say that. So keep in mind and be aware.
We live in a world where masculinity is such a problem. Men feel the need to constantly deny women agency and their rights of their body in order to get what they want. Men feel the need to be hyper-aggressive in order to attract the opposite sex.
Seriously, Roosh, fuck you! You are the biggest piece of fucking chauvinistic, pig, despicable, cocksucking, motherfucking piece of fucking shit, psychopath, sociopathic motherfucker I have ever seen in the fucking world. Seriously, fuck you!
And this is exactly why toxic masculinity is such a huge problem. Pickup artists teach men to overlook agency and consent in order to get what they want. And as everybody knows, if there's no consent in sex, we know.
People are saying, oh, right here, this is a gathering of people who like what the serial rapist and rape advocate promotes. These are people who are very dangerous. They will be discussing ways to escape the legal repercussions of raping women and discussing how to manipulate women with psychological issues, etc. These are dangerous bigots, and Roosh V's main goal is to create an infilled army of fanatics who will follow his orders blindly, basically to run around raping women and getting away with it.
And the fact that there are people taking these courses and we've got no clue who they are is very unsettling. Wrapping this up, I definitely think that these individuals' names should be on like an international sex offenders list, because they're literally paying money to see people like Roosh V and Julian Blank to learn how to be sexual offenders.
And in no uncertain terms either. He even called for the legalization of rape in the USA if it was on private property as a way to, as he put it, defeat rape culture, and has his own group called Return of Kings that holds the belief that men are superior to women and are oppressed by feminism. This cunt is the epitome of a fucking men's rights activist.
These kind of people make me fucking sick. Do I feel that there are a lot of manginas in the world? Yes, unfortunately. You know, men who are just like, oh, I like a woman even if she's 400 pounds. You shouldn't, because you should, if you like her that much, you should want her to lose weight so you can have her longer. Because being that kind of fat is unhealthy. But that's not the point. What I'm saying is yes, there are some men who don't act like men. Sure. And it's not really a plight on the world. You are the plight on the world. You are like Donald Trump. You are like Ben Carson. You are like Carly Fiorina. You know, you are like Sarah Palin. You are a plight on this planet. You're like B.O. Okay? You are a fucking plight. You are like Kim Kardashian or the Fine Brothers or Derek Savage. You are a plight and a cancer on society. Fuck off. Go into your little hole and die. Okay?
They saw Jezebel and be like, oh, that's all your feminism. That's all your feminism.